Okay, here we are. We are on chapter 4 of Esther. So hopefully this will be enjoyable to everybody. Okay, let's continue on. Chapter 4, verse 1. ומרדכי ידע את כל אשר נעשה, ויקרא מרדכי את בגדיו, וילבש שק ואפר, ויצא בתוך העיר, ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה. Now Mordechai knew, you could say learned of, right? Probably in context, learned about everything which had been done. So Mordechai tore his clothes, and he dressed with sack. This Hebrew word sack, it's where we get the word, the burlap bag, like that kind of thing, right? Like sackcloth. It's from Hebrew, sack. Va'efer, and ash. Afer is literally ash, right? So sack and ash. Vayetze, and he went out, betoch ha'ir, in the midst of the city. Vayizak, and he called out ze'aka with a loud cry. Gedulah. Za'aka gedulah is a loud cry, a great cry. Umara, and bitter. So probably this gedulah, umara, this might even be hendiadys, like with a bitter cry, or an agonizing cry would probably be a good way to bring that into English. Verse 2. ויבוא עד לפני שער המלך, כי אין לבוא אל שער המלך בלבוש שק. And he came until before the king's gates, for there was none who approached the king's gate dressed in sackcloth. Verse 3. ובכל מדינה מקום אשר דבר המלך, ודעתו מגיע אבל גדול ליהודים, וצום ובכי, ומשפד שק ואפר יוצא לרבים. So we're on chapter 4, verse 3. And among all of the province, so this is just saying each and every province, Mekom, the place in where the king's edict, or the king's word, and his command, his law, really his ordinance, reached, was aval, gadol. Aval is a mourning. This comes from the word aval, which it's a special kind of mourning. Usually this kind of deep sadness is when a parent loses a child. It's aval. So you can picture the sadness because everybody knows not only they but their children are to be slaughtered according to the brilliance of the king. So aval gadol lihudim, to the Jews, vetsom, and fasting, uvechi, and crying. This is an onomatopoetic word. Bacha is to cry. Just think about it. Bacha, bacha, bacha. Umisped. So safad is to mourn, or more specifically to wail. And mispadim are professional wailers, right? That sometimes in the Middle East would be hired to go to the funeral. If you've ever watched any of the staged events that the Palestinians put forward, you'll see sometimes it's the same faces of the same mourners at every single funeral, wailing and going crazy, jumping on the coffin. Those are hired mourners. They're professional mourners to make it feel like a more somber event. Sak va'efer. So this is sackcloth and ash. Yutza lachabim. So yatsa, this is like to spread out, but this is a pual form. So was spread out, was laid upon lachabim, the multitude, the many. Okay, just a sec, my previous chapter just finished exporting. I need to respond to that just real quick. Okay, and let's roll up. Let's roll this up to the top. So we just finished reading verse 3. Let's go to 4. Okay. 4, verse 4, go. Okay. ותבוא לנערות אסתר, וסריסיה, ויגידו לה, ותתחלחל המלכה מאוד, ותשלח בגדים להלביש את מרדכי. It's kind of funny, her reaction. ולהסיר שקו מעלי ולא קיבל. So the lasses of Esther, right, like her helpers who were women, they came, and her eunuchs, and they told to her. Then, this is kind of interesting word. So this is from Chil, Chet Yod Lamed, and this is a special form you don't see too often. This is not Hitpalpel, which we're used to. This is Hitpalpel, and it only occurs in the entire Bible in this one place in the book of Esther, and it means to be seized by fear, to be seized by fear. So that she was seized by fear. Who? The queen, Hamalka. The Malka was seized by fear. How much? Me'od, very much. Latishlach begadim. So this is where I laugh. So she sent clothes. Lehabish et Mordechai, to dress up Mordechai. But he ule hasir, and to remove sako, his sackcloth, me'alav, from upon him. Velo kibel, but he did not receive. Right. So this is kind of a later Hebrew usage of this word. Receive, usually it's to welcome, but we see also in the Mishnah, we hear that Moshe kibel et Torah mi Sinai, that Moses received the Torah from Sinai. And this is related to on Kabbalat Shabbat. We have Kabbalat Shabbat from the same root, to welcome, right? The welcoming of the Sabbath, not the Kabbalah of the Sabbath. Like some people, I don't do Kabbalat Shabbat, that's Kabbalah. Okay, no, that's not what it means. It means to welcome the Sabbath. So we have the same root here. He did not welcome it, he did not receive it. Verse 5. ותקרא אסתר לחטפך מסריסי המלך אשר העמיד לפניה, ותצווהו על מרדכי לדעת מה זה ועל מה זה. So Esther summoned Hathach, one of the again, this could be eunuchs of the king or it could be officials of the king. It's kind of a mysterious word. It shows up even in the Torah, this word, but we're never quite sure. Does it mean eunuch or does it mean, there's kind of a scholarly dispute about the meaning of this word, or official. Some of the officials were eunuchs, right? Who he stood before her, right? So kind of like a Kate's watch, so probably eunuch. And she commanded him, the who is the object there, al, not upon, but concerning Mordechai, yea, lada'at, to know mazeh ve'al mazeh, to know what is this, and concerning what is this, right? So to find out what's going on. Verse 6. ויצא חפך אל מרדכי אל רחוב העיר אשר לפני שער המלך. So Hathach, he went out to Mordechai at the Rehov Ha'ir, at the city square, right? This is oftentimes the wide part of the city. That's like the city square, or the plaza, right? In German, die Platz, which was before the king's gate. Okay, verse 7. Vayaged lo Mordechai, yay, et kol asher karahu. So Mordechai related to him everything which had happened to him. Karahu, right? Happened to him. And it's kind of interesting that Mordechai feels that what has happened to his people has happened to him. Surely he could have escaped. And this shows us the proper attitude for a righteous Jew. For those of you who are native born or born, the Ezrach and the Ger, those who are grafted into the covenant or those who are born in the covenant, this is your holiday too. It's not just about ethnic Hebrews, right? It's about everyone in the cultivated olive tree, right, who's come into Israel. You are to assimilate into the culture, to be a good immigrant, to take on the laws of the land. In this case, Purim is just as much your holiday as it is those of us who are Israeli or whatever. Okay, so, but look what Mordechai does. He's a wealthy man. He could have fled. He could surely have fled and been safe, right? He could have gone to a neighboring country or even elsewhere, and nobody would have to know that he's a Jew, right? I mean, if he wasn't true to Hashem, he could have hidden it, right? He could have shaved his beard and removed his tzitzit and all that stuff, or at least kept them tucked in, like sometimes we do. You tuck them in, right, if you want to draw attention to yourself from haters. So, Karahu happened to him. Mordechai takes it personally. It happened to him. V'et parashat hakesef asher amar Haman. Boo! And also the parashat, just like we have the Torah parashat, right? This is the portion of the silver which Haman, boo, said Lishkol would be weighed out. Or like this sometimes Amar can be like ordered to be weighed. Al ginzei hamelech, into the storage, the treasure chests, the treasure rooms of the king. Bihudim, against, bait oftentimes has a function of against, not just in, against the Jews, the abadam, to make them perish. Now let's scroll up verse 8. ואת פתשגן כתב הדת אשר ניתן בשושן להשמידם נתן לו להראות את אסתר ולהגיד לה ולצוות עליה לבוא אל המלך להתחנן לו ולבקש מלפניו על עמה. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm reading faster than I usually read. We're not going max speed here. We're just, I need to get through it, right? And so this is kind of way I can justify doing my own mitzvah fulfillment and also share it with you guys, okay? So sorry if it's a bit faster. Just remember, you can touch the gear if you're watching this on YouTube and you can slow it down. Yeah, and you can pause also, okay? So don't be too concerned about that, okay? So this is Ptshegin. This is, again, Ptshegin. This is that Persian word that means a copy, a duplicate. Notice we have the et, it's before the verb, so there's emphasis. So Mordechai, he was just talking about how the people are to be caused to perish. And now it's going to get a bit bigger. And there's a style here. It's a longer word when we get to lehamishtam than the previous word. And this is a stylistic, a Hebrew style that's called a ballast, right? It's when you make a parallel line, the similar words become longer. Sometimes they're changed into two words, or sometimes just one longer word. So this is normal in Hebrew prose and poetry. So in their special emphasis, this is the object. So, and about the copy, ketav hadat, where it was written the commandment, the order, the law, asher nitan, which was given b'shushan and Shushan, lehashmidam, to destroy them. Natan lo had been given to, he gave to him. So he gave to this person a copy of it, right? Leharot, to see, this is Hiphil, to cause, to show, to Esther. Ulehagidla, and to recount to her, to relate to her. Ulitzavot aleha, and to command concerning her, lavo el hamelech, to go to the king. Lehitchanen, and to plead for mercy, lo, to him. Ulevakesh, and to seek milfanav al ama, from before him, concerning her people, right? So Hebrew says on her people, concerning. Whew. Verse 9. Vayavo Hathach vayaged leEsther et divrei Mordechai. Yay! So Hathach, yay! He came and he told to Esther, yay! The words of Mordechai. Yay! Verse 10. Vatomer Esther laHathach vatetzavehu el Mordechai. Then Esther said to Hathach, yay and yay! And she commanded him to Mordechai. And here we have this little, the critical apparatus tells us it's probably al. Right? It's saying there, it's seen in the, it's interpreted by the Septuagint to be al. Right? Here it's el. So it could just be a pointing error here, although al's usually with an ayin. We'll just say towards Mordechai. That's fine. There's no problem with it, the way it is. Let's scroll up 11 to the top. Remember, you can pause and take breaks as you need, but you're getting to fulfill the mitzvah. Yay! כל עבדי המלך ועם מדינות המלך יודעים אשר כל איש ואישה אשר יבוא אל המלך אל החצר הפנימית אשר לא יקרא אחת דתו להמית לבד מאשר יושיט לו המלך את שרביט הזהב וחיה ואני לא נקראתי לבוא אל המלך זה 30 יום. Well, that's a mouthful, that verse. So it says, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know, and Asher, can we just say that maybe, or which, know that every person, every man or woman who comes before the king, to the king, unto the inner gate, hapenimit, right? So penima or penimi is the inner, right? So for example, in Israel we have the Misrad HaPanim, which is the Ministry of the Interior, right? They deal with like passports and that kind of stuff. So, and your national ID cards, all that kind of stuff. So the interior gate, right? The inner, court. Chatzer is a court, the inner court. Notice, by the way, you Hebrew students, it's a goal here, because here we have the chet with the comments and the accents elsewhere. And so that's the rule to point the definite article with a goal. So unto the inner gate, the inner courtyards, where or which lo yekare, or okay, sometimes the share means when, so I'm going to translate when here. When lo yekare, they were not summoned. The person was not summoned. You notice that's a Niphal from kara. Kara is to call, yekare is to be called. And again, this is not future. This is a continual thing. It's imperfect. This is the way it is. Achat dato, one of his regulations. So he wasn't called by one of his regulations. Lehamit, shall be executed. Levad, only me asher. Again, it's kind of wordy, it's strange Hebrew. Literally from which Yoshitlo, he stretches out by himself, Hamelech, the king, for himself. What does he stretch out? Et sharvit. Sharvit is a scepter. Right? This is an Aramaic word that made its will from sharvita in Aramaic. It came into Hebrew this way. So if he stretched out his scepter, which one? Hazahav, the one of gold. Vechaya, then shall live. Meaning the person will chaya, they will live. Va'ani lo nikraiti, but I haven't been summoned. Lavo el hamelech, unto the king. Ze shloshim yom, this 30 days. So she feels she's in disfavor of the king. He hasn't wanted to see her. all of this time. That's a problem. Verse 12. ויגידו למרדכי את דברי אסתר. And they related to Mordechai Esther's words. And note the pay there. This is a logical place that ancient peoples would stop when memorizing the text. That was a chunk, like a memory chunk. Verse 13.